My name is Bill Heater. I'm a longtime fan, a first-time caller. And we're interviewing Don Norwine today. We thought for the center, it might be fun to talk to some collectors. So we went back and tried to find the oldest one we could find, and Don's name popped up. So we brought him on board, and Don and I met the first time, well, maybe 20 years ago, 25 years ago or so at one of the special client events that LJ holds, and Chuck was there, which is a big thrill for us. But um, I think we had attended a couple events together, but really hadn't really met. And I know this sounds unusual, but we actually met at the bar, as I recall, and chatted then. So, Don, can you tell people a little bit about what brought you to the event and your interest in Chuck? And let's start with that.
Okay, well, Chuck, to me, I've known Chuck my entire life just based on when you look at when I was born on either side of that, things like Zoom and Board, Duck Amuck, Duck Dodgers in the 20th, all of those, what I consider to be kind of, What's Opera Doc, the classic cartoons of Chuck Jones and actually animation in general. In a Chuck Jones, animation, the coyote's always back. The coyote goes through the ringer, and the coyote's always back. And I love that kind of animation.
He is a resilient
Well,
sort,
and
isn't
all of
he?
the Chuck, when you look at Daffy and the things that would happen to Daffy when, with especially with the shotgun, right? I mean, you always knew nothing bad was going to happen. And it was just
Yeah.
classic enjoyment in a very, what I consider to be a much more free form style. And I love that type of animation.
Don, do you remember the first time you met Chuck?
I do very vividly. He was very congenial. He was very conversant. I mean, he was just, you would listen to him and it was just a joy to listen to him. And you knew you were kind of moving through history with an icon. And it was, that to me made it intimidating for me, but not the encounter itself.
Yeah, I found him very approachable, very affable, good, wonderful sense of humor. I think to me, I was a bit daunted by his intelligence. When as well read as he is, and
Yeah,
the guy could practically recite word for word every Mark Twain book ever written, and that was daunting. But certainly he didn't try to be intimidating. He didn't try to be intellectual. He's just a smart guy.
right. Well,
Um,
and the funny thing to me is when you would think back on all the times that at the gallery during one of the events, and Chuck would show up and he would take his seat, and everyone in the room would get down on the floor and sit cross-legged like all the kids used to in kindergarten, and you
yeah,
could not hear anything except Chuck as he just walked through some historical events or something in the life of animation, and the people were just, you would look around and the people were just like, just
yeah,
dumbstruck. And that's the power of Chuck. He just had the ability to just captivate you with his life in animation.
yeah. You hung on every word.
Absolutely.
Um, I remember seeing him a couple times. One time he was trying to discuss a rotor and a coyote gag, and he wanted to draw, but there was no easel or sketch pad or anything nearby. So he grabs a magic marker, and there happened to be a white sliding door there, and he drew the rotor and coyote scene in front of everybody on this white door.
Yeah, it was
Now,
a
I
Corona
probably would have done that when I was 3 years old,
and gotten yelled at,
but
right? That was a
yeah,
Corona
that
Del
was his
Mar.
gallery.
That was the door at Corona Del Mar that he did that on. I actually have pictures of when he was doing the drawing. And I
Yeah.
think a number of us went up and put dots on it, but that didn't work. When you look at his body of work, you can't find an animator in
No.
Disney or Hanna or any of those other studios that created the number of characters, right? They were given characters, and they animated many characters on some of those. But when you look at Chuck, somebody asked me once, well, how many characters did Chuck actually develop? And I said, and I took a guess. And they said, oh, wow, that's a lot. And they went away. And I thought, well, I wonder. And I started going through some of the cartoons. And when I got to like 40, I stopped counting. And then I went and did some research. And I came up with like 75, 78 different characters that appear in his shorts. And I think, nobody in the history of animation has ever developed that kind of body of character work throughout a career. They may
And they
have
were
worked on a
unique.
lot of those. They absolutely were. Pepe Le Pew, Wile E. Coyote,
Yeah.
Daffy Duck. It's just it's amazing when you look at those. They weren't like, okay, let's just make a little change and it'll be a different character. But I mean, they were just wildly different.
Well, thanks for taking the time, Don. Always just a blast to talk to you, and thanks for sharing it with our folks here.
I am very happy to. I'm very happy to share anything I can, especially with Chuck. He's been a very important part of my collecting life. Well, not probably, absolutely the cornerstone of all of the animation that I own can be attributed directly to Chuck Jones and the things that he's done. And I've always enjoyed that. I've enjoyed the people that I met along the way, and I've enjoyed being able to say to the people that I meet in the future, Chuck Jones, oh yeah, I met him.